Welcome to our first Google Hangout. Today we're going to be talking about technology standards. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Chris.
I'm Kaylin.
I'm Destiny.
And I'm going to be doing the first presentation, so I'm going to show you guys the standards that I was researching. So this is just the International Society for Technology in Education. The first standard that I did was for teachers, and it was to design and develop digital age learning experiences and assessments. This is where teachers incorporate contemporary digital tools and resources. They allow students to pursue their individual curiosities, which allows them to become active participants in their own education. They're setting their own goals, they're assessing their learning. They're also addressing students' diverse learning styles, as well as having multiple and varied assessments for students. A student standard I looked at was the communication and collaboration. This is where students use digital tools to aid individual learning and contribute to the learning of others. Students need to communicate their ideas to one another through the use of multiple media and different formats. Through this, they develop cultural understanding and global awareness while they're working in groups. Another student standard that I did was research and information fluency. This is where students apply digital tools to gather, evaluate, and use information. They plan strategies to guide themselves. They also locate, organize, analyze, and evaluate information from a variety of sources. They also learn to process data and report results. One very good example that I found for the teaching standard that I was this link right here that you can click on, and it will take you to. This allows students to access different assignments. They're interactive, they have questions. They also can share information from teacher to teacher so you can see what worked, what didn't, and things like that. This one was for one of my student standards. It's an interactive lesson of a world map that lets you explore the languages and the cultures. This really gets the kids involved, and it's just an awesome site. I highly recommend looking into it. And lastly, this one was a great website for not only students but teachers as well. They had a student side and a teacher side, which I thought was very cool. It's great hands-on activity. It looks at the carbon cycle, and it's great for visual learners as well. Just some important things to think about is incorporating multiple digital tools and resources. This helps teachers address their students' diverse learning styles. Also, having multiple and varied formative and summative assessments. This is important because not only does the instruction need to have multiple tools and resources, but the assessments need to as well. The assessments also need to fulfill that diverse needs of the students. Also, interacting with groups effectively. Working in groups is so beneficial, but only if you're working in groups effectively, so it's very important to look at that. And these are my resources, and that is my presentation.
All right. I'm Chris, and today we're learning about the National Educational Technology Standards. And here is my presentation. I started with the National Educational Technology Standard number 5 for teachers, which is engage in professional growth and leadership. What that means is that teachers should participate in local and global learning communities, exhibit leadership through technology, evaluate and reflect on current research, and contribute to the effectiveness in schools and the community. An example of this that I found on Teachers First is this Hotline podcast. It's a new technology that allows teachers to share podcasts and even lesson plans with other teachers. Not only is this beneficial for the teacher and the school, but also for the community. My next topic that I researched was the National Educational Technology Standards for Students number 6, which is that students demonstrate a sound understanding of technology, concepts, systems, and operations. What that means is that students understand and use technology systems. Students are able to use applications effectively. Students can troubleshoot systems and applications and the students are able to transfer their prior knowledge and apply it to the current content. An example of that I found on Teachers First is this app called Perfect Pitch, and it teaches students about orchestra using a baseball game. Prior knowledge of baseball can help them to learn about the music, and computer games that students have played in the past will also help them to understand that application. The last one that I researched was the National Educational Technology Standard for student number 5, which is digital citizenship. That means that students should practice safe and legal and responsible use of technology. They should exhibit a positive attitude toward technology to collaborate and learn with others. They should demonstrate personal responsibility while on the internet, and they should exhibit leadership. An app that showed that, or it's a website that showed that, is this Youth Leadership Initiative, and it teaches the children about politics, but it also allows them to do elections. And this way they can have a student government and they can elect candidates as if they were really doing the polls, which is pretty neat. And that's my last one. So my name is Chris Rose, and this was my presentation on the National Educational Technology Standards.
Okay. So, hi, my name is Kaylin, and I also researched a few of the technology standards. I started out by looking deeper into the standards and why we have them, and I determined that these standards exist to help make sure that students and teachers are utilizing all of the amazing new technology that can be beneficial in the classroom so that both students and teachers can succeed in an increasingly technology-reliant society. And this slide talks about why these standards are significant, and it basically wraps up by saying these standards are important because technology is becoming more and more unavoidable for teachers as time goes by, and these standards help to put an emphasis on how important technology is becoming and helps teachers effectively use them in the classroom. So the standards that I looked at were NATST number 1, which is to facilitate and inspire student learning. Teachers use their knowledge of content, teaching, and technology to provide experience that advance student learning and achievement in face-to-face and virtual environments. And within this standard, teachers should be able to promote, support, and model creative and innovative thinking and inventiveness, engage students in exploring real-world issues and solving authentic problems using digital tools and resources, promote student reflection using collaborative tools to reveal and clarify students' conceptual understanding and thinking, and model collaborative knowledge construction by engaging in learning with students, colleagues, and others in face-to-face and virtual environments. I also looked at NATST number 4, which is to promote and model digital citizenship and responsibility. And within this standard, teachers should advocate, model, and teach safe, legal, and ethical use of digital information, address the diverse needs of all learners by using learner-centered strategies, promote and model digital etiquette and responsible social interactions related to the use of technology and information, and develop and model cultural understanding and global awareness by engaging with colleagues and students of other cultures using digital age communication and collaboration tools. And lastly, I also researched a student standard number 1, creativity and innovation. Students demonstrate creative thinking, construct knowledge, and develop innovative products and processes using technology. And within this standard, students should be able to apply existing knowledge to generate new ideas, products, or processes, create original works as a means of personal or group expression, use models and simulations to explore complex systems and issues, and identify trends and forecast possibilities. So an example I found for the Teachers the first teacher standard was a lesson from Teachers First that highlighted sheheroes.com, which is a great social studies tool that publishes articles and videos about well-known and everyday females that are inspirational. Students using this tool would learn about these women and discuss and reflect on the obstacles faced by women in business and society and what they can do to bring awareness to the problem. This activity directly affects the NETS standard by engaging students in exploring real-world issues and solving authentic problems. An example that I found for the first student standard was Digital Storytelling, which was a website created by the University of Virginia. And it is a way for students to create a story, draw, take pictures, and record their voice to produce their very own digital story of whatever interests them personally. This activity is directly correlated with the standard because it allows students to create original works as a means of personal expression, which is essentially what teachers want from their students when looking at this standard. And lastly, I found an example for the fourth teacher standard, which was a website called MapStack, which is a very cool website. And it's useful in a social studies lesson, and it allows students to study and see different communities all over the world. They can also make their own communities and look at communities made by other students all over the world. This is a great way for students to develop and model cultural understanding and global awareness, which is a subdivision of this teacher standard. It also allows students from all over the world to communicate in a unique way by showing each other their own personal communities. And what I mean by that is there might not be any face-to-face communication between these students from all over the world, but they're still communicating with each other by showing how they live and where they live and what the places that they live and go to look like, which I personally think is very interesting. And when using the technology standards, I think that you should make sure that you are using the technology effectively to facilitate learning so that students are getting the most out of the lesson. I also think that you should not let the technology do the teaching for you. It is a tool that exists to aid in teaching and nothing more. And also make sure your students are still using other means to research so they do not become solely reliant upon technology. And these are my resources. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, so hi, I'm Destiny, and I also looked at the teacher standards for technology. Okay, so the teacher standard that I chose was Model Digital Age Work and Learning. This is where teachers exhibit knowledge, skills, and work processes representative of an innovative professional in a global and digital society. For the student standard, I chose critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making. Students use critical thinking skills to plan and conduct research, manage projects, solve problems, and make informed decisions using appropriate digital tools and resources. Okay, so for the teacher standard, I found this really cool website off of Teachers First, and it's this website where you can create a coaster. So basically, the teacher would show the skills. They would model creating their own coaster. You would be using like scientific terms, which is really useful. So for a science unit, you could use this where they talk about kinetic energy, inertia, potential energy, and everything that will go into building a coaster crafter. So here. Okay. And for the coaster crafter, I thought it was really interesting because the teacher would themselves learn how to navigate that website. And it also engages the students because a lot of students really enjoy roller coasters and it's not a boring thing. So it allows them to like learn about what they've been interested in and what they enjoy at amusement parks, as well as engaging the technology. And for my student standard, I found this really cool website off of Teachers First. It's like a student blog. It's called Comments for Kids. And basically, it teaches the students how to express themselves over the internet, how to put themselves out there, and there are rules to the blog. So the students will put something out there, and you can only receive positive feedback, positive comments because a lot of people, when they do put themselves out there over the internet, there's negative feedback that they will get. But with this student blog, the kids are exposed to what it would be like to properly put themselves over the internet but not receive the negative feedback. So the conclusion, activities should be more student-centered. A lot of lessons are teacher-centered, which don't require as much involvement of the students. But with the activities being student-centered, they're allowed to really engage, and it really requires their interest, and it really makes sure that they actually learn something. For the second bullet, teachers should always try to improve their skills. With the way our society is now, technology is always going to improve. And so as a teacher, you shouldn't be comfortable with knowing just one set of skills. So with the technology, you should always try to keep up with everything that's going on. And then I also said you should use the integration of other subjects with the technology because it's very beneficial. A lot of teachers, they get afraid of technology, but technology, you can really integrate that with any subject. You can use it with art, science, math, and really you would, be getting two subjects knocked out of the way, but, it'd be smoothly. So students would really appreciate that. These are my references.
So that looks like it brings us to the end of our first Google Hangout. But before we stop, I just wanted to talk to Kaylin because we actually couldn't see her presentation. So I just wanted to go back to her really quick to make sure that we can see her presentation. She doesn't have to do it over, but just so we can see it.
Yes, of course. That will be no problem at all. Okay, so can you guys, oops. Can you guys see what I'm doing currently?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so here's my Prezi. As I said, I just kind of outlined why the standards were important and why it's so beneficial for us as teachers to use them. And then I told you guys what my standards were, which was facilitate and inspire student learning, promote and model digital citizenship and responsibility, and creativity and innovation for the students. My first example was sheheroes.com, which is a website that publishes articles about inspirational everyday females and well-known women as well. And digital storytelling for students to be able to tell a story of their choice using technology. And lastly, MapStack, where students have the opportunity to design their own community, look at communities all over the world, and see what other students are designing and what their homes may look like. And these are my resources.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed our first Google Hangout.